Callan Ward had always believed he was hard to scare. He'd climbed frozen mountains. He'd dived into black oceans. He'd walked alone on abandoned worlds where even the wind sounded wrong. Fear was familiar to him, a companion, not an enemy. But nothing in his life compared to this. He stood inside a circular metallic chamber deep within a vortex ship, wrists locked in glowing restraints that hummed with an alien heartbeat. The walls pulsed with faint blue light, alive and shifting like silent lungs. Shadows moved behind observation glass, where dozens of tall, insect-like vorti watched him with cold, clinical fascination. Callan was the first human they had ever captured alive. He should have felt panic. He should have begged. He should have shown fear, the one thing they expected to see. Instead, he inhaled slowly, studying his surroundings as if he were inside a museum instead of a torture room. "Subject appears calm," one vorti elder hissed. Its mandibles clicked loudly. "Impossible," another muttered. "All species tremble before the scan." Callan smirked. "Maybe your machine just has a boring personality." A ripple of confusion passed through the observing aliens, confusion mixed with irritation. Humans were already whispered about across the galaxy, known for unpredictability. But seeing one standing calmly in front of the fear scan, the most powerful biological probe in the quadrant, made them uneasy. A tall vorti approached the center console. Its exoskeleton glowed faintly, and its eyes expanded with cold intent. "Activate the scan," it commanded. The machine behind Callan unfolded like a metal flower, dozens of thin tendrils reaching out. The restraints tightened around his wrists. A cold beam swept across his spine, sending a sharp jolt through every nerve in his body. His breath caught. The chamber lights dimmed as the machine powered up fully. The fear scan didn't read thoughts. It didn't read memories. It read the soul of the body, the deep biological truth hidden inside every creature. Every species they had scanned revealed the same thing. Fear of death. Fear of pain. Fear of failure. Fear of loneliness. Fear was universal. The vorti believed it defined all living things. Callan clenched his jaw as the machine drilled deeper. His muscles tensed. His vision blurred for a second. He felt something sharp probing into the core of him, searching his cells, stripping away every mask, every choice, every learned behavior. The machine wanted the truth inside him. The vorti leaned forward. "Show us your fear, human." The beam intensified. Callan gasped, knees trembling as the probe pierced deeper into his biology. His heart hammered not in panic, but in resistance. His body fought the scan while the aliens watched with growing anticipation. On the monitors above, Callan's cellular activity projected in shimmering holograms. Lines of data encoded his instincts, reactions, evolutionary responses. Then something unexpected happened. The data spiked, changed direction, shifted in ways the vorti had never recorded. "What is this?" an elder snapped. Another adjusted the readings frantically. "This cannot be correct. Increase resolution." The monitors zoomed in on Callan's cellular responses. There was no panic, no primal desperation, no fear-based collapse. Instead, his cells glowed with curiosity. The lead researcher recoiled. "Impossible." Callan's teeth clenched through the pain, but his eyes stayed open, studying every flash of light, every reflection on the machine's surface. Even under torture, he watched everything with hungry attention, like someone trying to learn how the device worked. The scan pushed deeper. Again, his cells responded the same way. Not fear. Wonder. "What kind of creature responds to terror with curiosity?" hissed one scientist. Callan's voice came through ragged but steady. "Humans do." The vorti murmured in alarm, their cold confidence cracked. For them, fear was the foundation of control. They used it as a weapon. They built entire empires on it. And here stood a human, restrained, tortured, outnumbered, yet fascinated instead of broken. The lead elder clicked its mandibles furiously. "Increase intensity, push deeper. There must be a survival fear somewhere in his structure." The restraints tightened around Callan's arms, biting into his skin. The machine's tendrils glowed brighter. Pressure built in his skull like molten fire. His body screamed. His nerves shook. His muscles spasmed. But in his chest, something else rose, something stubborn, sharp, unyielding. His gaze locked onto the rotating crystal core of the fear scan. "What does that part do?" he muttered between clenched teeth. The vorti froze. Even now, he was asking questions. The machine pushed harder, but Callan's instincts refused to collapse. He didn't yearn to escape. He didn't pray for mercy. He wanted to understand. He wanted to know. He wanted to learn the thing that was hurting him. The monitors flickered violently. The data became unstable. The vorti backed away from the glass, unease spreading through them like a storm. "Enough," the lead elder barked. "Shut it down. His biology is incompatible." But the scan didn't shut down. It struggled, it flickered, then. Callan exhaled sharply. Something inside the machine cracked. Sparks erupted from the control panel. The glow around the restraints dimmed. Callan lifted his head, sweat dripping down his face, eyes fierce. "You wanted to see human fear," he said softly. "All you found was human curiosity." The chamber fell silent. And for the first time, the vorti feared him. Callan Ward's body shook as the fear scan powered down, but a spark still burned behind his eyes. The machine wasn't designed to malfunction. It wasn't designed to break. It wasn't designed to fail. But it had. Because of him. The chamber lights flickered overhead, the shadows of the vorti elders stretching long across the glass walls like thin, insectal ghosts. Their antennae twitched in agitation. Their mandibles clicked in growing alarm. One elder stepped closer to the observation window. "Restart the scan," it ordered. "Higher intensity, maximum depth." Another vorti hesitated. "Elder, this human destabilized the probe. His cells reacted abnormally." The elder slammed its claw into the console, cracking it. "Fear is universal. No creature rejects it. Run the scan again." Callan wiped a streak of blood from the corner of his mouth and grinned, breath ragged. "Round 2 already. Thought you'd at least buy me dinner first." A ripple of confusion and anger passed through the group. The vorti didn't understand humor. They didn't understand resilience. And they definitely didn't understand why a creature under torture still dared to speak. Two technicians approached the machine and recalibrated its crystal core. The restraints on Callan's wrists tightened again, glowing a deep red as energy surged through them. Sparks hissed across the floor. Callan felt his lungs expand painfully as the machine activated once more. The scan began its descent. A long beam of dark blue light poured down his spine, piercing through skin, muscle, bone, digging into the oldest layers of his biology. The machine didn't just look for fear. It dove into instinct. It searched for the foundation of his species. Callan grit his teeth as the first wave hit him. It felt like cold fire threading through his blood. The machine probed his childhood. Bruised knees, climbing forbidden cliffs, sneaking into broken factories to see how old engines worked. It probed deeper. Teenage years, fixing machines meant for scrap, sneaking out at night to watch meteor showers, asking questions he wasn't supposed to ask. Deeper. Adult years, traveling alone to uncharted worlds, breaking rules to satisfy his curiosity, touching things labeled dangerous just to understand them. The vorti stared at the monitors, expecting panic spikes. Instead, every memory the machine uncovered, every moment, every risk, every danger, was met not with fear, but fascination. "His neural patterns are accelerating," a scientist warned. "He is interested." "Interested?" the elder roared. "Increase the depth." The beam brightened. Callan gasped as another wave tore through him, harsher, deeper, a strike meant to strip his mind bare. His body reacted, muscles tightened, breath hitched. But his eyes, sharp, focused, analyzing. He studied the machine even as it ripped through him. "What's that part do?" he rasped. The elders recoiled as if he'd spit acid. "What kind of creature asks questions during a fear probe?" one demanded. Callan let out a shaky laugh. "Sorry, I get talkative when I'm curious." "You're supposed to be terrified," the elder screeched, slamming the console. No species can endure a fear depth scan without breaking. Callan lifted his head, sweat streaming down his face. Maybe stop assuming all life is as fragile as yours. The beam sharpened again, the third wave. This time it dove beneath memories, beneath instinct, beneath emotion. It reached the root of his species. Human evolution. The survival chain encoded inside every cell. The machine sought the primal fear reflex that every living creature has. But humans were different. The machine hit the ancient neural pathways of early humans. Not hiding, exploring. Not retreating, testing. Not runnings, learning. Again, the monitors flashed the same impossible result. Curiosity, not fear. Callan's cells burned with questions. What is this machine made of? Why does it read biology this way? How far can it push? How do I break it? The probe trembled. The Vorti technicians fell back from their stations, panic spreading across their reflective eyes. It's impossible, one whispered. His instinctive response to fear is wonder. Callan was sweating, shaking, barely holding himself up, but he smiled anyway. Guess humans didn't get the memo. The machine began to overheat. Blue light flickered violently. Warning alarms blared through the chamber as smoke curled from the core. The elder slammed the wall. Shut it down now. But the machine was already losing control. The probe dove deeper without command input, desperate to find something, anything that resembled fear. It pushed into Callan's pain centers, into his survival centers, into the animal brain. It wanted to force panic. Callan snarled, head tilting back as agony tore through him. His muscles seized, his lungs shook, his heart hammered like a drum trying to escape his chest. The elders leaned forward. Finally, one hissed, finally we will see human fear. But the spike on the holographic monitor didn't reflect fear. Callan's eyes snapped open, glowing with fury. The spike was something else entirely. Defiance. The probe glitch screamed, its crystal core fracturing in a spiderweb pattern. The restraints sparked violently. The entire chamber vibrated. Callan leaned forward against the restraints, teeth bared. You want fear, he growled through pain. Sorry, curiosity gets there first. And with a final sharp crack, the machine broke. The chamber filled with smoke. Sparks rained like angry stars. The main console exploded in a burst of blue flame. Vorti scrambled backward, hissing in shock. Callan slumped forward, breathing hard, sweat dripping from his chin. He looked up slowly through the haze. His voice was quiet, but steady and terrifying. Now that your toy is broken, who's next? The Vorti stared at him in horror. They had just learned the first rule of humanity. Fear doesn't rule humans. Humans rule fear. Smoke curled from the broken fear scan machine as Callan slumped forward, breathing hard. The restraints still glowed around his wrists, but their power flickered like dying candlelight. The chamber lights pulsed unevenly, casting long shadows across the transparent wall where dozens of Vorti stared in stunned silence. The humans had always been a rumor to them, a primitive, reckless species on the far edges of the galaxy. They expected panic, submission, begging. Instead, Callan Ward had looked into their most invasive fear machine and responded with wonder. The Vorti Council had no idea how to process that. A shrill alarm howled through the facility as emergency doors sealed and guards rushed into position. The air grew thick with tension. Blue warning symbols flashed across every wall. Elder Kosh, the oldest among them and covered in deep green armor plating, clicked its mandibles in agitation. This is not possible. Nothing rejects the scan, nothing embraces it. Elder Vorn hissed back. We just witnessed a creature whose instinctive response to terror is to investigate. What kind of anomaly have we captured? Another elder slammed its claw against a console. He is unstable. He must be terminated before he destabilizes the ship. Callan's head lifted slowly. Even exhausted, even shaking, he still had that stubborn spark in his eyes. Funny, he said, voice rough. You break your own machine and I'm the unstable one. The elders recoiled slightly, as if his voice carried contamination. Kosh leaned close to the glass. Human, why do you not fear us? Callan stared at his reflection in the transparent surface. I do fear you, he admitted calmly. Anyone with sense would, but fear doesn't stop me. It makes me curious. Curiosity, Vorn spat, is weakness. Callan shook his head softly. Curiosity is the reason I know you're hiding something. The elders froze. Callan smiled faintly. You're afraid of something too. A wave of discomfort rippled through the council. He wasn't wrong. They were afraid not of him hurting them physically, but of what he represented. A creature that didn't break under their most feared weapon was unpredictable, uncontrollable, dangerous. And the Vortai had built their entire empire on controlling other species through fear. If fear didn't work on humans, then humanity threatened everything they believed in. Two guards, tall, armored, and insectoid, marched into the chamber to tighten Callan's restraints. Their claws clicked as they approached. Callan watched them calmly. What's this, a hug? The guards hesitated, glancing at each other. Callan didn't miss it. They were nervous. He leaned forward just slightly. You're afraid of me, aren't you? One guard jabbed a spear-like limb into his ribs. Silence, animal. Callan inhaled sharply from the pain, but didn't stop smiling. Yeah, definitely afraid. The lead elder slammed a claw against the wall. Human, you will obey. Callan tilted his head, studying the elder like a scientist examines a strange insect under a microscope. So that's it, he murmured. You're not angry. You're scared I'm not reacting the way you expect. We do not fear lesser species, Kosh snapped, mandibles clicking. Then stop shaking, Callan said softly. The room went silent. The truth hit them like a blow. The elders stepped back from the glass instinctively, and that small retreat told Callan everything he needed to know. He had power here. Not physical power. Not weapons. Not numbers. But psychological power. He could fight them where they were most vulnerable, their belief that fear controls the universe. And humans. Humans challenge everything they think they know. The council erupted into frantic conversation. He must be sedated. No sedation works on his chemistry. Terminate him. That may provoke the others. The others? Callan's expression sharpened. There were more prisoners. The elders' debate grew louder, more frantic. Their fear spread like cracks in glass. Callan finally spoke, raising his voice enough to cut through the chaos. Why do you even run this scan? He asked. The elders froze. Kosh turned slowly toward him. The scan reveals the essence of a species. Right, Callan said, nodding. You want to know what rules us? Yes. Callan met the elder's cold, violet eyes. And what rules you is fear. The elders stiffened. But humans, he continued, aren't ruled by fear. We're guided by it. We study it. We look behind it. We ask why and how when others run away. He lifted his head proudly. And that scares you. The chamber trembled as the ship's systems attempted to stabilize after the probe's failure. A distant explosion echoed through the halls, a reaction to the machine's meltdown. The Vortai guards stepped back from Callan unconsciously, their antennae twitching with unease. Kosh tried to reclaim control, slamming its staff against the floor. Human, you are nothing, a lone creature in chains. The restraints around Callan sparked suddenly, flickering as if struggling to hold him. I broke your machine, Callan said quietly, in chains. The council fell completely silent. For the first time in Vortai history, they did not know what to do. Callan lifted his eyes to the towering aliens, his voice low, steady, impossibly calm. You think fear defines life, he said, but for humans, curiosity defines us more. The lights flickered violently. The fear scan machine burst into flames behind him. The guards stumbled back. The council stepped away from the glass. And Callan Ward smiled. He had just turned their strongest weapon into their greatest weakness. And this was only the beginning. Smoke curled from the broken fear scan machine as Callan slumped forward, breathing hard. The restraints still glowed around his wrists, but their power flickered like dying candlelight. The chamber lights pulsed unevenly, casting long shadows across the transparent wall where dozens of Vortai stared in stunned silence. The humans had always been a rumor to them, a primitive, reckless species on the far edges of the galaxy. They expected panic, submission, begging. Instead, Callan Ward had looked into their most invasive fear machine and responded with wonder. The Vortai Council had no idea how to process that. A shrill alarm howled through the facility as emergency doors sealed and guards rushed into position. The air grew thick with tension. Blue warning symbols flashed across every wall. Elder Kosh, the oldest among them and covered in deep green armor plating, clicked its mandibles in agitation. This is not possible. Nothing rejects the scan, nothing embraces it. Elder Vorn hissed back. We just witnessed a creature whose instinctive response to terror is to investigate. What kind of anomaly have we captured? Another elder slammed its claw against a console. He is unstable. He must be terminated before he destabilizes the ship. Callan's head lifted slowly. Even exhausted, even shaking, he still had that stubborn spark in his eyes. Funny, he said, voice rough. You break your own machine and I'm the unstable one. The elders recoiled slightly, as if his voice carried contamination. Kosh leaned close to the glass. Human, why do you not fear us? Callan stared at his reflection in the transparent surface. I do fear you, he admitted calmly. Anyone with sense would, but fear doesn't stop me, it makes me curious. Curiosity, Vorn spat, is weakness. Callan shook his head softly. Curiosity is the reason I know you're hiding something. The elders froze. Callan smiled faintly. You're afraid of something too. A wave of discomfort rippled through the council. He wasn't wrong. They were afraid not of him hurting them physically, but of what he represented. A creature that didn't break under their most feared weapon was unpredictable, uncontrollable, dangerous. And the Vortai had built their entire empire on controlling other species through fear. If fear didn't work on humans, then humanity threatened everything they believed in. Two guards, tall, armored, and insectoid, marched into the chamber to tighten Callan's restraints. Their claws clicked as they approached. Callan watched them calmly. What's this, a hug? The guards hesitated, glancing at each other. Callan didn't miss it. They were nervous. He leaned forward just slightly. You're afraid of me, aren't you? One guard jabbed a spear-like limb into his ribs. Silence, animal. Callan inhaled sharply from the pain, but didn't stop smiling. Yeah, definitely afraid. The lead elder slammed a claw against the wall. Human, you will obey. Callan tilted his head, studying the elder like a scientist examines a strange insect under a microscope. So that's it, he murmured. You're not angry, you're scared I'm not reacting the way you expect. We do not fear lesser species, Kosh snapped, mandibles clicking. Then stop shaking, Callan said softly. The room went silent. The truth hit them like a blow. The elders stepped back from the glass instinctively, and that small retreat told Callan everything he needed to know. He had power here. Not physical power, not weapons, not numbers, but psychological power. He could fight them where they were most vulnerable, their belief that fear controls the universe. And humans. Humans challenge everything they think they know. The council erupted into frantic conversation. He must be sedated. No sedation works on his chemistry. Terminate him. That may provoke the others. The others? Callan's expression sharpened. There were more prisoners. The elders' debate grew louder, more frantic. Their fear spread like cracks in glass. Callan finally spoke, raising his voice enough to cut through the chaos. Why do you even run this scan? He asked. The elders froze. Kosh turned slowly toward him. The scan reveals the essence of a species. Right, Callan said, nodding. You want to know what rules us? Yes. Callan met the elders' cold, violet eyes. And what rules you is fear. The elders stiffened. But humans, he continued, aren't ruled by fear, we're guided by it. We study it, we look behind it, we ask why and how when others run away. He lifted his head proudly. And that scares you? The chamber trembled as the ship's systems attempted to stabilize after the probe's failure. A distant explosion echoed through the halls, a reaction to the machine's meltdown. The Vorti guards stepped back from Callan unconsciously, their antennae twitching with unease. Kosh tried to reclaim control, slamming its staff against the floor. "Human, you are nothing, a lone creature in chains." The restraints around Callan sparked suddenly, flickering as if struggling to hold him. "I broke your machine," Callan said quietly, "in chains." The council fell completely silent. For the first time in Vorti history, they did not know what to do. Callan lifted his eyes to the towering aliens, his voice low, steady, impossibly calm. "You think fear defines life," he said, "but for humans, curiosity defines us more." The lights flickered violently. The fear scan machine burst into flames behind him. The guards stumbled back. The council stepped away from the glass. And Callan Ward smiled. He had just turned their strongest weapon into their greatest weakness. And this was only the beginning. Callan Ward had every reason to collapse. His muscles twitched from the overload. His veins still burned from the scan. His body felt like it had been used as a bridge for lightning. But his mind was alive. Curiosity hummed through him like electricity. The chamber around him smelled of burnt circuits, melting crystal, and the strange metallic scent of Vorti fear. The fear scan lay in broken pieces, its core glowing like a dying sun. Smoke drifted upward, swirling around Callan's shoulders. On the other side of the thick glass, the Vorti Council scrambled in panic. "Impossible. He should be unconscious. Restart the auxiliary probes. Shut down the chamber. No, contain him, no. He will destabilize the ship." They were arguing not because they hated him, but because they feared what they didn't understand. Callan's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. "You know," he said softly, "the more you panic, the easier you're making this." Every Vorti froze. Elder Kosh stepped toward the glass, eyes narrowing. "Human, you survived a full-depth scan. That should be impossible. You should be broken." Callan tilted his head. "You want to know the truth?" The elders leaned closer unconsciously. "I wanted to see what came next." Silence slammed into the room. Callan's calm curiosity was more terrifying than any roar. One elder slammed its claw onto the console. "Activate the auxiliary probe, maximum force." Panels hissed open in the floor, and a smaller machine rose, a cylindrical device with bright violet energy swirling inside. It floated toward Callan like a glowing serpent. "That one's new," Callan murmured. "Looks unstable." "It will unmake your instincts and expose your core," hissed an elder. Callan smiled lightly. "Can't wait." The Vorti looked at each other in disbelief. Currency signed no begging. Currency signed no screaming. Currency signed no desperate promises. Only anticipation. "Begin," Kosh ordered. The probe's energy beam hit Callan square in the chest. His body arched, breath bursting in his lungs as the new signal tore through him. Images flashed behind his eyes. A storm, a broken ship, fire, darkness. It was digging deeper, searching for the primal fear the main scan couldn't find. Callan gasped, sweat poured down his face, his voice cracked. But his eyes stayed open. Stayed curious. He studied the machine through the pain, the angle of its rotation, the way the energy spiraled, the pulse in its core, the frequency of its hum. Every other species collapsed under the first wave of this probe. But Callan whispered through gritted teeth. "So it works by resonating with biological memory. Interesting." The probe flickered. A technician screamed. "He is influencing the feedback loop. He's learning the probe's pattern in real time." "Break his mind," Kosh shrieked. The probe intensified, purple light filling the chamber. Callan's knees buckled. His vision flashed with white stars. His heartbeat stumbled. He could feel the edge of unconsciousness clawing at him. But he didn't fall, because curiosity held him upright, because understanding the machine mattered more than escaping its pain. "Closer," he whispered. The probe drifted an inch nearer. He reached out his hand slowly, deliberately, letting the beam burn across his palm. The pain was sharp, searing. His fingers shook violently. But he forced himself to hold the machine's gaze, if it had one. There it is, he breathed. A small, barely visible crack in the probe's metal frame, a vibration that skipped every sixth pulse, a cooling vent that overworked when the frequency rose. A weakness. Callan grinned, teeth red with blood. You overheat, he whispered, and you collapse on feedback. He slammed his hand against the failing restraint on his right wrist. Crack. The half-damaged shackle snapped open. The probe lurched in alarm, trying to recalibrate. But Callan was already moving. He grabbed the probe's glowing core with his bare hand. Searing pain tore up his arm, but he didn't let go. He twisted the device. A violent spark erupted. The probe screamed, if a machine could scream, and exploded in a shower of shattered metal and purple fire. The blast knocked Callan backward. He hit the floor hard, vision swimming, lungs fighting desperately for air. But he pushed himself up. He stood, barely shaking, bleeding, but standing. Behind the glass, the vortex staggered backward. He disarmed the probe. With one arm, he tore it apart. He learned it. He adapted. Callan wiped blood from his lip. You call these fear machines, he said, voice low and steady, but all I see are broken puzzles. Elder Vorn looked ready to flee. Human, what are you? Callan stepped toward the glass. A species that doesn't run from fear, he said. A species that examines it. He pressed his blood-stained palm against the barrier. And then breaks whatever's causing it. The chamber trembled with tension. Alarms screamed, guards scrambled, elders argued in panic. But the center of it, the focus, the force disrupting their entire empire, was a human standing in smoke and sparks with curiosity instead of terror. Callan cracked his neck and stepped forward again. Now, he said quietly, open the doors. The council stared at him in horror. Because I'm done being the test subject. His eyes hardened. It's time for you to be. The chamber alarms wailed like wounded animals as Callan Ward stepped forward, smoke curling around his boots. Sparks rained down from ruptured cables. The shattered auxiliary probe still twitched on the floor, spilling purple light like dying starlight. Every Vorti elder backed away from the observation glass. And Callan. He moved with slow, uneven steps, half limping, half advancing, but with a purpose that made the aliens tremble. Seal the lower levels, Elder Kosh shouted. Release the toxin gas, another ordered. Call the enforcer now. Guards scrambled across the walkways above, trying to regain control. Their armor clicked, their weapons hummed, their mandibles clicked in panic. But Callan wasn't running. He wasn't looking for the exit. He was looking for the prisoners. Because in the chaos of their fear, the elders had revealed something they didn't mean to. Other species were being held on this ship. Other victims. Other tortured minds. Callan's jaw tightened. He wasn't leaving this place alone. A set of heavy doors slid open at the back of the chamber. 3 towering Vorti guards charged toward him with long electroblades glowing silver blue. Their legs stomped in synchronized precision. Callan exhaled slowly. His body hurt. His bones felt like cracked glass. His vision pulsed with dark spots. But curiosity, the same force that had broken 2 machines, was now something sharper. Something like resolve. As the guards surged forward, Callan scanned their movements. Left guard, foot placement off balance. Middle guard, weapon too heavy, swings wide. Right guard, visor cracked, weak vision. 3 problems. 3 answers. The first guard slashed his blade toward Callan's ribs. Callan stepped into the attack, not away. The blade grazed his side, burning his skin. But he grabbed the guard's wrist and twisted sharply. Crack! The guard shrieked, collapsing. The second guard swung downward like a hammer. Callan ducked, rolled beneath him, and kicked his legs out. The guard toppled, armor clattering. The third lunged straight at Callan's chest. Callan pivoted, grabbed the guard's cracked visor and slammed his forehead into it. Glass shattered. The guard dropped instantly. Callan wiped blood from his brow with the back of his wrist and muttered, "Curiosity has a learning curve." Above him, elders shrieked in panic. "He cannot continue. He is one, we are thousands. He defies order, he must be crushed." Callan spotted the exit corridor. But instead of running for freedom, he turned toward the branching hallway marked with alien symbols. Symbols he had seen earlier. Symbols that matched one word scribbled on a fallen technician's datapad. Containment. He headed toward it without hesitation. "Stop HIM," Eldervorn screamed. Several more guards poured into the hall. They fired energy darts, rapid and precise. Callan dove behind a broken console, sparks erupting beside his head as shots hit metal. He peeked out briefly, counted the guards, counted their reload cycles, counted their positions. Then he moved. He sprinted low, grabbed a fallen guard's lance, and used it like a staff. His first strike knocked a rifle from one of their claws. His second broke a knee joint. His third jabbed a guard's throat. He didn't fight like he was surviving. He fought like he was on a mission. Because he was. Every step, every strike, every breath. Callan was thinking about the other species trapped here. Creatures who didn't get the chance to break the scan. Victims who didn't get the chance to fight. Callan felt anger coil in his chest like fire. "They hurt you," he murmured under his breath. "They won't hurt anyone else." He reached the containment wing. The air felt colder here. Quieter. Crueler. Rows of transparent pods lined the walls, hundreds of them, each holding a different species frozen in terror. Some were slumped unconscious, some trembled, some stared blankly. Every one of them had endured the scan. Callan's fists tightened. "Not anymore," he whispered. He rushed to the main console at the center of the room. Its interface glowed with alien symbols, shifting like living ink. A Vortai technician tried to stop him, but Callan slammed him aside with the butt of his stolen lance. He studied the console. A normal person would panic. A normal person would be overwhelmed by alien tech. Callan wasn't normal. His curiosity lit like a wildfire. "Energy distribution, centralized biolock system, overlapping shutdown nodes," he muttered. He pressed one button. Nothing. Pressed another. The lights flickered. Pressed a third. The entire containment hall shook. Pods hissed open one by one. Cold mist spilled from the seams as creatures inside gasped and stumbled forward. Some cried, some screamed, some simply collapsed with relief. A small, trembling creature with 6 eyes crawled to Callan's feet. Its voice was faint. "You freed us." Callan knelt, touching its shoulder gently. "Yeah, now we fight our way out." Suddenly the ground rumbled. A loud, deep roar echoed through the halls. Elder Kash's voice boomed over the intercom. "The Enforcer has been RELEASED." Callan stood slowly. The Enforcer. The Vortai's strongest telepathic weapon. A creature designed to break minds. Callan tightened his grip on the lance. He wasn't afraid. He was curious. "Good," he muttered. "Let's see what scares you." Behind him, dozens of freed prisoners rose to their feet. Callan turned to them, eyes sharp with purpose. "You want out," he said. "Help me stop the thing they just let loose." They nodded weakly, flames of hope flickering in frightened eyes. Callan faced the darkness of the hall as the roar came again, closer this time. "Let's go meet the Enforcer." He stepped forward without hesitation. Because escape wasn't enough. He wasn't here to run. He was here to end this. The hallway ahead pulsed with a sickening blue light, as if the metal itself was breathing. Every creature Callan had freed felt the vibration under their feet. It wasn't the ship collapsing. It was something walking. Something heavy. Something intelligent. Something built for one purpose. A low rumble rolled through the metal walls, too deep to be machinery, too alive to be an alarm. One of the freed prisoners, a feathered creature with trembling wings, whispered. "That sound, it is the Enforcer." Callan kept walking. The others followed slowly, their fear like a cold wind behind him. As they reached a wide, circular chamber, the lights flickered violently. Callan stepped inside first, shoulders tight, eyes scanning every shadow. The chamber was empty. Too empty. He felt the walls watching him. Then, a whisper. Not through his ears. Through his mind. Human. Callan stiffened. A crawling pressure slid under his skull, cold and invasive. A telepathic presence. The Enforcer. A shape stepped out from the far darkness, a tall vortiform but different. Its armor wasn't metal, it was grown, bone-like, organic. Its eyes burned violet instead of red. Its voice echoed through every mind in the room, without sound. You are the anomaly. The freed prisoners cried out, some falling to their knees. The telepathic pressure cracked through them like invisible claws. Callan clenched his jaw but stayed standing. The Enforcer tilted its head. You broke the scan. You damaged the probes. You destabilize order. Callan took a slow breath. Fear seems to be a big theme with you people. The psychic pressure sharpened instantly. You will kneel. Callan's body jerked, his spine stiffened, his muscles tensed, his vision stuttered. The pressure was brutal. It wasn't pain. It wasn't electricity. It wasn't force. It was fear. Pure engineered fear. Images slammed into his mind in rapid flashes. His ship exploding. His family dying. Earth burning. Him drowning in darkness. Him alone on a dying world. His heart hammered. His breath hitched. His legs trembled. The freed prisoners screamed as the psychic fear hit them too. Several collapsed. The Enforcer stepped closer, mandibles clicking in slow, confident rhythm. All species break. You will break. Your mind will kneel. Callan forced himself to breathe against the pressure, crushing his chest. His thoughts tore like thin paper. His vision narrowed to a dark tunnel. His instincts begged him to drop, to surrender, to let the fear swallow him. But then, a spark inside him ignited. Not bravery. Not anger. Curiosity. He whispered through clenched teeth, "Is this fear?" The Enforcer paused. Callan's eyes widened, not with terror but with fascination. He studied the fear, the rhythm of the attack, the pressure points in his mind, the emotional spikes, the way the psychic force tried to latch onto memory. It wasn't random. It had structure. It had rules. It was a pattern. And patterns could be beaten. Callan took a shaking step forward. The Enforcer's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Callan ignored the scream in his nerves and focused deeper, into the shape of the fear, not the feeling. He watched how it moved in his mind, how it twisted thought. It was like analyzing a code. A puzzle. A system. His breath steadied. Another step. And another. The freed prisoners stared up through tears and terror as Callan forced his mind through the psychic storm. He reached the Enforcer, stood nose to nose with it, and whispered, "You're using fear like a hammer. Humans don't break like that." The Enforcer's claws twitched. Callan lifted his hand and touched its armored chest. "Let me show you something." He didn't push back with strength. He pushed back with curiosity. He released his mind outward, not in fear, not in rage, but in pure, unstoppable, burning human wonder. The Enforcer froze. Callan fed it images. Humans climbing mountains because they shouldn't. Humans diving into deep oceans to see what lived there. Humans walking into storms for a better view. Humans asking why at things that terrified every other species. Curiosity without limit. Curiosity stronger than fear. Curiosity as a weapon. The Enforcer staggered, clutching its head. "Stop." Callan pushed harder. He showed it humanity's greatest instinct. To understand the thing that scares us. The Enforcer screamed, a psychic roar that shook the walls. The freed prisoners covered their heads, trembling. Callan kept going. He leaned in, eyes blazing. "This is why your machines failed," he whispered. "Fear doesn't control us, it challenges us." The enforcer collapsed to its knees, claws digging into the floor as it shook violently. Its psychic hold shattered. The fear attack stopped. Silence cracked through the chamber. Callan took one long, painful breath. The enforcer looked up slowly, its mental voice trembling. "What are humans?" Callan crouched beside the fallen creature. "We're the species that walks toward the dark," he said softly, "because we want to see what's there." The enforcer's eyes dimmed. It bowed its head. Not in defeat. In respect. Behind Callan, the freed prisoners slowly rose, tears drying, hope igniting in their eyes. Callan turned toward them. His voice was hoarse, quiet, but powerful. "Let's finish this together." And the prisoners, shaken, scared, but now inspired, stood behind him like an army forming around a spark. The Vortai wanted fear. They got humanity instead. The enforcer knelt in the center of the chamber, its once terrifying presence now dim and trembling. The violet glow in its eyes faded to a soft, uncertain flicker. The psychic storm that had nearly broken every prisoner was gone, cleared away by something the Vortai had never imagined. Human curiosity. Callan Ward exhaled, slow and heavy, as the pressure in his skull finally eased. His hands shook. His breath came in uneven waves. Sweat soaked his torn shirt. His muscles trembled with exhaustion. But he stayed standing. Behind him, dozens of freed prisoners rose shakily to their feet, creatures of different shapes, colors, and worlds, some still trembling, some crying, some staring at him with awe. The enforcer lifted its head, eyes dull, and whispered telepathically. "Human, you faced fear and looked deeper. That does not exist." Callan crouched, meeting its gaze. "You used fear like a cage. You thought it defined life. But humans, we don't stop at the cage." He tapped his chest lightly. "We look through the bars, and then we break them." The enforcer bowed its head. Not in defeat, but in surrender. In understanding. Behind the shattered walls of the chamber, alarms screamed across the entire Vortai ship. Red lights pulsed in frantic rhythm. Doors slammed shut. Defense drones hummed awake in distant hallways. The Council had realized it too late. They had not captured a weak, primitive creature. They had invited an evolution they weren't prepared to face. Callan stood, turning to the prisoners. "Everyone able to move," he said, voice steady despite the pain. "Come with me, we're taking the ship." A murmur spread through the rescued beings. One small amphibian creature croaked shakily. "Humans, you fight alone." Callan shook his head. "Not today." The prisoners gathered around him, forming a protective circle. Some held broken pipes. Some carried pieces of shattered tech. Some had nothing but their claws or trembling hands. But they had hope now. That was enough. The assault. The doors to the containment wing blew open as Vortai guards flooded in, six-legged, armored, and furious. Their weapons glowed with lethal blue fire. "Stop the human," an elder shrieked over the intercom. Callan raised his stolen electrolance, spread out. The battle erupted like lightning. Prisoners fought with desperation and unity, clashing with the guards in a chaotic, beautiful storm. Callan surged forward, dodging blasts, striking weak points, slipping between armored limbs. Every move he made carried weight. Every strike carried intent. Not fear. Purpose. A wolf-like prisoner tackled a guard from the side. A winged creature swooped and struck a weapon out of another's claws. A tiny insectoid alien crawled onto a guard's back, ripping out wires. Callan fought like he had nothing left to lose and everything to protect. He shoved the lance through a guard's chest, then spun and blocked another strike with the broken edge of his restraint cuff. Pain flared through every part of him. He kept moving. "Callan," someone screamed, "behind you." He twisted just as a guard lunged. The blade grazed his shoulder, tearing flesh. Callan grunted, then slammed the butt of the lance into the guard's throat. It fell. Another wave approached. Callan gripped the lance tighter. He felt his legs weakening, but he refused to fall. A roar echoed through the room. The Enforcer. Not attacking. Fighting with them. It slammed into a group of Vorti guards, psychic energy surging as it turned against its former masters. Callan gave a tired smile. Good to have you on the team. The Enforcer bowed its head slightly. The Council's panic spread through the loudspeakers. The Enforcer has BETRAYDUS. The human has CORUPTD the scan. Stop them, stop them. But it was too late. Callan and the prisoners surged as one unstoppable wave. The Vorti lines broke. Fear, once their weapon, had turned against them. The bridge. The final doors to the ship's command bridge hissed open. The elders inside scrambled backward as Callan stepped in, battered, bleeding, but unbroken. Kosh raised a trembling staff. Humans, stay back. Callan didn't raise his weapon. He looked around the shimmering command center, the glowing screens, the holographic star maps, the panic in every Vorti eye. Fear rules you, Callan said softly, but it doesn't rule us. He nodded toward the freed prisoners behind him. And it won't rule them anymore. Kosh's voice shook. What do you want? Callan stepped closer, eyes unwavering. The truth, he said. Tell the galaxy what you saw today. Tell them fear isn't the end. Tell them humans aren't prey. Tell them curiosity is stronger than panic. He leaned in. And tell them the next time you scan a human, bring a bigger machine. Kosh collapsed to its knees. Callan turned to the rescued beings. Let's take them home. Together, they seized control of the ship. The legend. When they escaped into open space, the rescued prisoners stared out the viewport with tears in their eyes. One whispered, "You changed everything." Callan leaned against the console, breathing hard. Not just me, all of us. The Enforcer approached quietly. Human curiosity is stronger than fear. Callan smiled weakly, finally catching on. The galaxy will fear your kind, the Enforcer warned. Callan shook his head. No, the galaxy will learn from us. And somewhere, deep in Vorti territory, the Council sent a trembling message across their empire. Beware the species whose fear is curiosity. They cannot be controlled. They cannot be predicted. They cannot be broken. A new legend was born that day. The human who faced a fear machine and made it terrified of him. Zara, if you want, I can now turn this into a short 1-minute version. A YouTube description plus tags. A thumbnail prompt. Just tell me.